how are you tonight?
Oh, living the lockdown dream.
Yeah. Well, at least we got outside a bit today.
Yeah, we did a lot of running around.
Yeah, and that's why we're dressed the way we are. Yeah.
I knew you were going to make some kind of comment about this situation. But this is what it looks like. Small business owners in a pandemic are wearing a lot of hats, and so are parents. And this is what you look like.
In the same jeans every single day.
If looking like this is wrong, I don't want to be right. So, there's
a song in that. So last time we talked about the first king of Italian wines, Amarone. And I opened the table wine, and you were saying, well, if you were buying. So tonight, before you came, I opened the second king, the Brunello.
Is it because I got so dressed up for the occasion?
Yeah, really. If I know you were coming like that, I would have opened this one.
I'm dressed like a table wine, but
yeah, well,
we'll enjoy the king.
Yeah, a little disappointed because I did get dressed up for this.
Oh God. Oh.
Not that I'm a big fan of Brunello or anything, but this is my favorite of the three kings. So
good to know. Well, you don't even need me today, so I'm just going to take this and
over my dead body. I bought this when I was in, Montoccino.
Oh, lovely.
The home of Brunello.
So you're going to lead the way on this guy at least.
Yeah, I'm happy to tell you about this one.
Well, maybe I should start with the table wine because we've decided that is best suited to my attire today.
Well, let me start with the Brunello because these wines are all made from the Sangiovese grape. So then, just like the Amarone, the Valpolicellos are all made from the same three varietals. But there's a difference in those and there's a difference in these too. So we'll start with the king. It's only in the area around Montoccino. And Montoccino is a medieval town. It's up on a hill, it's Caserone. It's a beautiful little town. It's in the province of Siena. And Siena is the major city close to it, which is a gorgeous place to go visit. And I recommend if you're there, you got to go see these places.
When we can all travel again, we'll do a little trip to Italy maybe.
Yeah, we can do the wine tastings from there.
Yes, please.
Yeah, how good would that be?
Yes, please. I'll even wash my hair.
Yeah. So what this is that they found that it was a different clone. And it grows on the hillside, so it gets... it's the warmest climate in all of Tuscany. It's the furthest south, and they've got good exposure with the south and the southwest sunshine. So this is actually made from the Grosso, clone of the Sangiovese. And for it to be a Brunello, it has to be 100% Sangiovese Grosso. It has to be aged in oak for 2 years, and then the bottle for another year or two. I can't remember exactly. And it is, really, really considered, one of the first real important wines internationally for the Italians. It got its DOCG in 1980. It was the first Italian wine to get that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of Sangiovese in our wine tasting from last week we talked about Valpolicella and the grapes that go into that, and Valpolicella being the second most well-known wine in Italy and exported wine in Italy, and Sangiovese and Chianti is actually the first.
Yeah.
Is the most produced wine in Italy and exported wine.
Yeah. I was looking up just to see. I didn't know how much Sangiovese or how much Brunello there was made. They only there's 3,000 acres of Brunello planted. There's 41,000 of Chianti.
My favorite story about Chianti, and as you can see from this one here.
Gorgeous brown color.
I know, it is gorgeous. And I'm going to talk about Chianti, and then I'm going to go sit on the couch and drink this and let you just finish off for us. You don't see a lot of Chiantis in the wicker baskets anymore. No. And it's partially because back in the day, as we just said, Chianti is the most popular grape varietal, or Sangiovese is a grape varietal, but Chianti, the wine, is a popular grape varietal in Italy. And it was really common in the older days, and this is how they wrapped it, and to protect the bottle. And people started making lower quality wines that weren't Chianti, that weren't Sangiovese, and they were just wrapping it in straw so nobody could see what was in the bottle. And so the straw baskets got a bad rap because it was then representing bootleg wine or bad wine. Yeah. And so everyone stopped using them because they didn't want to be known as a poor bootlegged
Yeah.
bad wine. But you're seeing some of the tradition come back because it is so traditional to have them wrapped in that. And there's actually a name.
For the basket?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. But if you look at this is DOCG as well.
Yeah.
So it's, it means that the domain of the origin where this wine is made is controlled and it's guaranteed. So the C is for controlled, the G is for guaranteed. So the quality of wine, and actually, as a result of that, what they were doing, they were mixing, Merlot or Cab Franc, anything they could to it to soften the taste of it and to make it more body, because the Sangiovese really it's not that big a body for the Chianti. And they passed a law. And now, if you're caught doing anything other than 100% Sangiovese in these, it's up to 6 years in prison.
Wow. I think that's why with a lot of the European wines, when you're in the liquor store, wherever you may live, when you see these kinds of identifications, and France has their own, but it lets you know that that wine is following all the governing bodies and the laws and following the procedures and using the right blends that they're allowed to use, or the grape varietals that they're allowed to use. So when you see that, it's kind of like a reassurance that you're getting not maybe an expensive wine, but definitely a quality produced wine that's following rules. Yeah.
Like you were saying with the Amarone, the origin of the vineyards is controlled and is guaranteed. So you don't have to worry about this being mixed with anything else. It all comes from that region, and it's a guarantee on it. So let's just taste this one. Yeah, I mean, it's a gorgeous wine. Now my palate's nowhere near as good as yours.
Well, the people at home may not know this, but Brian just opened this bottle of wine. Shame, shame. Wines like this should be open a couple hours before you have them, so the full expression of the wine is available to your palate and your nose when you're smelling it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's definitely true. To me, this has got, the really black fruits, black cherries, blackberries,
Yeah, maybe a hint of leather and
oak for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of vanilla from the oak.
Yeah. Did I already say tobacco?
So, what do you think you would like to eat with this?
With this one or with any of these? This
the
one. Big guy?
Yeah.
The king? I would probably go with, maybe something roasted or grilled, get that kind of charcoal, like kind of sear marks, bit of flame on it, gamier meat, like a red meat, or maybe a lamb.
Lamb would be, my choice, and I know it was for the Amarone too. But remember when we were in France, we'd get the leg of lamb, we'd have it butterflied, we'd stretch it out, and this one, put it on the grill, rosemary on it would be great. It's going to bring out the flavors of this, and the grill marks are absolutely right. And the other thing you could do is, we had that beautiful stew the other day, the slow roasted pork roast. Yeah. Which would have been great with this.
Oh yeah, that would be fantastic.
So I'm going to move on to the next one. This one, and both of these are produced by Banffy, a really good producer. Long family tradition in producing wine. They really look the same, right? One black label, one yellow label. But the Rosso di Montoccino is, for me, a really interesting option, because what happens is when they're harvesting the grapes, the best grapes will go into the Brunello. And the grapes that they think, there might be a little damage to the skin, or there might be a little bit, too ripe, or the bunches have been too close together, they'll take those and put them aside. And if they're not happy with the way wines are developing, they have the option to take all their Brunello and say, we're gonna classify this as a Rosso this year because it just didn't develop in the cask the way they wanted it to. So it's 100% Grosso Sangiovese, the same clone as in this, but for some reason they just think it wasn't actually, it just wasn't perfect. So
you might have to open it, because I'm not super well versed in the Rosso.
Yeah, well,
I don't have a lot of experience with that. I'm either like table wine or all in.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get this one open for you, because I got a feeling you're gonna go on it tonight. But the interesting thing about this is that, it's a little bit less body. It's aged for half the time. And they can release us after, I think, 6 months in oak and 6 months in the bottle. So within 12 months from harvest, this wine can be on the market. Like this one's a 2018, this one's a 2014. So from a business point of view, I look and say, what an advantage for cash flow.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to put the grapes in here because you're not going to get the quality and you're going to drive the price down. But you can do this one so it's younger and it's fresher, and it's more approachable for drinking. It doesn't have the same level of tannins in it that this one does.
Yeah, like although this is definitely a more full-bodied, higher tannin wine, even though we don't have any food now and it hasn't been open for very long, it's still drinking really nicely on its own, I gotta say.
Now, I could actually open this one if you wanted.
I mean,
If
we were live, I'd be like, what do the people want to say? Tell us what to do.
Yeah.
But since we're not live, I'll just be the deciding factor and I'm gonna go with, I think we should open it.
All right, so that's open. I want to tell you a story about Montoccino. When we were there, we were on our way to Siena. We were staying in Montoccino. So we were driving there and I said, well, we got to go right past Montoccino. So we pulled in there and there was all kinds of traffic and everything, and the police were there and they were holding you back and all that kind of stuff. So I said to the police officer, who was lucky enough to speak a little bit of English, I said, what's going on? He says, this is the festival. This is the grand festival celebrating the wild boar. I'm going, the wild boar festival?
This is where you got the wild boar lasagna from.
I know, that's exactly where it came from.
I know where this is going.
Anyways, we go in and we check into a hotel and we get to park our car and we walk out, and there's 4 neighborhoods in Montoccino. So each of those 4 neighborhoods, they all have their period costumes. They all have their food specialties. And so we watched the parade and everyone was dressed up and everyone in the town was there. And then at the end of the parade, they had this big open area, and each community, each neighborhood had its own food table. And so I said, and your mother wanted to go shopping to Siena. I said, well, we got to go. And I go to the very first food table and I said, so what do you guys have? And he goes, we got wild boar sausage. I go, oh, I got to have one of those. He said, okay, I'll get them for you. He said, if you want wine, you go over to the wine counter. So I go to the wine counter and I say to the guy, I'd like some wine. He goes, what would you like? And I said, what do you have? And he says, well, we have Brunello and we have Rosso.
Right.
And I go, well, anything else? He goes, we have Brunello and we have Rosso.
The region.
You're in Montoccino,
yeah.
right? And I said, so how much is the Rosso? And he goes, like €5. I said, well, how much is the Brunello? And he goes, oh, it's a lot more expensive. That's €7. And I go, €7? And he takes what we would consider a plastic beer cup, and he gives me this humongous glass of Brunello, and I'm thinking I'm in heaven. I got, wild boar sausage, Brunello for €7. I go back and sit down with your mother and say, we're not going to get to Siena right away.
And it never made it to Siena.
We never
did.
End
of the story.
No.
But I do love that
all
about
4 food booths, though.
I do love that about European towns and communities and wine growing regions, that they grow the grapes that grow in those regions, obviously, and they pair it with the foods that are from those regions, and that's how the pairings trickle down into our world.
Right.
Is typically, I'd be willing to bet, and I'm just guessing here, but all the wine pairings that we know of here, that we've learned about, are all go back to the areas where the grape comes from.
Absolutely.
And the foods that are available there.
Yeah, the wines have really been, over hundreds of years developed so that they go really well with the local foods. And that's the best recommendation. Eat the local food and drink the local wine with it.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this?
It's all right, but the first thing I notice is the tannins have more grip to them. So the tannins in this one are a lot softer, and I guess that's because of the age, even though it hasn't been open for that long. But these ones really grip you right in the gums.
Yeah, I find this is much fresher. The fruits are much fresher, where this one to me, they're more mature fruits.
And the
more
acidity
ripe.
is higher. in this
Yeah.
one as well. And just for everybody at home who's watching, you know, obviously our little wine chats, I won't even call them wine tastings because they're wine chats, are, you know, just me and you hanging out, talking about wine because we love it in a very informal setting. And maybe someday we'll like invite one of the pros, get like Jeremy Bonia down here with us and I'll get all dressed up.
Yeah.
But for everybody at home who is listening, we talk about tannins and acidity a lot, especially in these wines, especially when you get to that Chianti, because that has a really nice acidity to it. And acidity is a mouth watering sensation.
Yeah.
So like when you bite in a lemon and you like get all of the like juices flowing in your mouth, and then tannins is a mouth drying sensation. So if you've ever had, you know, really, really strong tea and you kind of feel it gripping up in your gums or around your teeth,
all around your teeth.
that's a tannin sensation in your mouth. So what I'm noticing is this one still has tannins, but I'm not feeling it in the same place in my mouth as I'm feeling with this one because it's younger.
Yeah, I
and those
agree.
tannins, like I said, are gripping a bit more in the front gums.
But it still has a lot of acidity with it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyways, that's all I got on the Brunellos and the Rosso.
Yeah, and I guess you can let me jump in on the table wine because that's in my price point.
And
for
as much as I
daily
like to
consumption.
open this for you, then when you take this one
was
home,
gonna say,
you'd have to have it closed.
Don't open it because then I won't be able to take it.
Right.
So we talked about the straw baskets and kind of the history behind that, and I love that some people are doing a little throwback here. This is one of the wines we serve at Piatto, actually, so is that. And I really like this wine because it pairs so well with the tomato-based dishes.
Yeah.
Especially spaghetti and meatballs, probably my like favorite thing to drink with that. This wine here, you know, it's a lighter, obviously a much lighter wine, extremely light, like lighter than Valpolicella.
Yeah.
And this particular one has a really, really nice acidity to it.
Yeah.
So it's going to pair again really well with those tomato-based dishes. So like a
Very
margarita,
much so.
spaghetti and meatballs,
Sangiovese will go
lasagna
well with-
might go here.
Yeah, I would
With
go,
like the ragu and the stewing of like the beef
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. You know, that's the way to do it. But anything tomato-based will go with any Sangiovese, you know, grape.
I think
'Cause it
basically
just-
we don't drink anything that doesn't pair with tomato-based things because everything we do has tomatoes in it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
except
true.
for the Stephanie, and we will do a wine pairing for the Stephanie sometime soon.
So we only got one king left to do, and we'll do that next time around. We'll look at the Barolo's and the Barbarescos.
Well, we will try because that was actually, you know, full disclosure, that was our plan for tonight was to do the Barolo because that's my favorite of the wines. But unfortunately, there's no Barolo to be had in St. John's right now. So maybe Collingwood Spirits and Wines can slide into our DMs and hook us up because I know they got one somewhere.
Anyways, until next time, take care, stay safe, and hope you had a little bit of fun watching us chatter about wine.
Cheers, everybody.